So now that we have an idea of how to use some of the materials in the MXM mode, we're going to go ahead and look at how do we use the embedded mode materials. To begin with that, we're going to go up here to our Maxwell Scene Manager, and we're going to go to Materials, and we're going to click on this first icon, and we're going to start with cups. So this is the material that we've already assigned here in SketchUp, and you've seen how that works. What we're going to look at now is the character. And the character is defined by a type. So you can see that we have a bunch of different types here in this list. We have automatic, plastic, lacquer, car paint, metal, liquid, glass, AGS, which stands for Architectural Glass Solution, SSS, SSS single-sided, satin, velvet, complex IOR, which stands for Index of Refraction, emitter, and HDR image. Now, what I will say is that materials is an incredibly complex topic. My best advice to you is to go ahead and watch the Maxwell Render tutorial series that I have that encompasses about 6 to 7 hours worth of material dialogue and showing you how the material editor works and how materials in general work in Maxwell. It's a really important thing to understand, and it's a highly complex topic, so I'm not going to really get into all these different things other than to tell you that they're there. But for what we're going to be doing here, plastic is going to serve our purposes just fine, because plastic more or less is very similar to the way that you'd get something like china or porcelain without some of the SSS effects that you would get in proper china. So we have two options here. We have roughness and we have ND. Okay, so the ND we're going to lower down to something a little bit more reasonable, something like so. And the roughness, I'm going to drop that pretty much all the way down like so. Let's go ahead and do a quick render of that so you can see what that looks like now that we've applied that. So right off the bat, you'll see that that material that we've applied to the cups looks way, way more realistic than it did before. And as a matter of fact, those yellow stripes are really just popping right off there as being highly unrealistic. That diffuse material that comes out of SketchUp by default is not a very good material for that reason. And so, generally speaking, I recommend that you don't use it. Even using something like this that has a basic character to it without using a proper MXM material can be a big, big improvement in terms of realism. So I just wanted to point that out to you. So let's go ahead and continue on with this. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. Now we're going to look at these gold bits here. So we're going to go to Cup Accents, and we're going to change the type from automatic to metal. And then from the metal, I'm going to choose gold. And I'm going to increase the roughness. So maybe something around 10% looks good to me. And then we're going to go to the coffee itself. And in the coffee, we're going to change the mode to say something like plastic again. And on this one, we'll change the ND down to something really low, like say 1.4. And the roughness, I'm going to drop that down all the way. And we'll do another render test to see how this works out. Already we're looking much, much improved. Way more realistic. Now, why did I choose to lower the coffee down to a lower ND like that? Why did I choose plastic? Again, those are decisions based on my knowledge of how materials work, and it's way more complicated than I could possibly get into in this introductory situation. But the bottom line is that there are different levels of shininess in your reflective objects, and the ND controls how reflective an object is from any given angle. And coffee is basically water, and I know what the ND of water is, whereas the coating on porcelain is basically glass, and I know what the ND of glass is, so I more or less took advantage of the knowledge of those situations. The metal more or less takes care of itself as a preset. Now you may notice that this is rendering kind of blurry, and the reason why is we haven't focused our camera. So I'm going to hit stop and close. And just for the sake of making sure that we're good here, I'm just going to make sure that we focus to that object right there, like so. You know what I might even do? I might even go ahead and set my depth of field here. So I'm going to set my depth of field for something real narrow, like that, and that. And that'll just give us a nice small depth of field. We'll hit render again. You'll see that everything's much sharper now. But our background should still be semi-blurry, not really sharp back there, and that's okay. So this is more or less how you would set up your materialization. Now, there's a couple more materials that I do want to look at real quickly. And the reason why I wanted to set that up is because I just want to go ahead now and rotate out of our scene 2 spot real quick. And I'm going to look at our emitters. So we have 3 emitter materials here. And what I want to do is I want to quickly set these guys up. So we're just going to do the left emitter, and we're going to choose type emitter. And we have watts and efficacy. We also have a roughness, by the way, but I won't get into the roughness. We can increase the wattage if we want to. We can change the color of this particular emitter if we want to. But for right now, I'm just going to say that that's fine. I'm just going to set it for an emitter and let everything be what it is. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other 2 as well. So I'm just going to change that to emitter. And the right emitter, change that to emitter. And that's really all there is to that. So let's go back now to our scene 2. And let's re-render again. You'll see a big difference this time. So now we're getting a lot of different light sources going besides just that IES light, and it's bringing different colors into the mix. And while that's great, maybe those colors are what you want them to be, maybe they're not strong enough, or maybe you want to play with the different lighting scenarios. Well, thankfully, they've created a thing in Maxwell called multi-light, and multi-light will allow you to take advantage of those things. And we're going to look at how to do that in the output section of this video series, which is next. So let me just stop that, and I'll see you in the next video.